Hello guys, good morning everybody. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If I am audible and visible, just let me know. हाँ जी. If I'm audible and visible, just let me know. Okay. So before I start the session for today, one of the things that I want to tell you is, yesterday I was seeing certain student had a certain doubt related to the use of language, right? What I've always done from my side is to keep the language as much I could do it in English, right? So 60% to 70% our sessions are in English, maybe it could be 80% as well, and 20% are for the Hindi students as well, right? So we try to maintain a lot of balance as well, because I know we have a pan India audience and we want as much as our analysis to reach different, let's say, states and the aspirants who want to understand the analysis, right? So somehow, let's say if there would be certain scenarios, right, there would be certain cases where I, let's say, in a flow will go in Hindi, but I always try to make sure that whatever I have said in English, it is also translated in Hindi as well, or whatever I have translated in or said in Hindi, it is translated in English as well, so that you guys do not have enough problems with that. One of the things that I explain in Hindi for the Hindi belt students, why? Because they are able to understand more in the Hindi language. And why I use the English language? Because then it would be able to understand for the non-Hindi students as well, right? So I try to keep and maintain a very healthy balance in our session, so that the session is bilingual, right? So the session is bilingual, majority focus is on English. Yes, there would be 20% of Hindi, and we have to accept this fact that there would be 20% Hindi for our Hindi speaking belt as well. I hope this point is clear to everybody. Now don't write certain comments. कोई comment box में कोई comment नहीं करेगा इस चीज को लेके, right? Whatever your concerns were about a particular student, I have taken note of that and I am trying to address that as well. Now, coming back to our today's main news, I think everybody is aware of the news that we right now have, which is Supreme Court has upheld the repeal of J&K special status. I think everybody knows this point, that J&K enjoyed special status under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. In 2019, through the President order, President had declared that it no longer exists the special status of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in this regard, there were a lot of petitions that were filed in Supreme Court, that whether it was constitutionally valid or not on the part of the President to cease to exist the special status that was provided to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, before I try to highlight the points that have been said by the Supreme Court, let me remind you a little bit about the past and the history of Jammu and Kashmir. See, Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state. It had been given three options. One was to join India, to join Pakistan, or to remain independent. The thing was, they interpreted ke wo independent rahenge. They thought that they will remain independent, but there was a sudden attack from the Pakistan side. They came to our help, and as a result, instrument of accession was signed. Under the instrument of accession, special status was given to state of Jammu and Kashmir. Then there was a constituent assembly that framed the constitution for Jammu and Kashmir, right? So these are the scenarios that we're working on, right? So Jammu and Kashmir की constituent assembly आई, उन्होंने उनका constitution बनाया, उनको special status India के through मिला हुआ था, and there are certain articles that were not implemented to the state of Jammu and Kashmir because of the special status. Now, considering this part, as soon as their constitution came into being, the assembly was no longer in position or no longer in effect, and it was governed by the, let's say, agar hum baat kar rahe hain, their constitution, plus it was guidelined by the Indian constitution as well. One of the things that you have to understand is, it doesn't mean state of Jammu and Kashmir had any internal sovereignty. Very important point. Now, when I talk in terms of USA, there the people are a part of USA as a country and are part of states as well, right? So they enjoy internal sovereignty as well. That are the different people of different states. But here Supreme Court has clearly said that the state of J&K did not have any internal sovereignty, that it would be their matter, that it would be decided by them only regarding the special status of Article 370. This is the point that we have to understand, because what had happened was, there was a governor rule that was imposed in Jammu and Kashmir, after then president rule, and after that notification was passed where special status अब वहां पे सीज नहीं exist नहीं कर रहा था. So as a result it was challenged on the grounds in the Supreme Court that whether this could be done constitutionally without taking advice of the legislature of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So this was the main question that was put in the Supreme Court. But Supreme Court has clearly said Jammu and Kashmir do not have any internal sovereignty. This highlights the concept of asymmetric federalism. Very important. I'm going to read the line as well. Jammu and Kashmir does not have any internal sovereignty different from other states. It is status under Article 370 is only a form of asymmetric federalism. That means it doesn't have like the power sharing that we have in USA, right? Here, if we talk about in India, the center is a major, we can say strong as compared to the states, right? तो ये चीज आपको समझनी चाहिए and it is very very important. So that is why it has been constitutionally valid कि president had the power that it can do so without the advice of the legislature of J and K. Second important thing they have said is, if we look at the historical context, Article 370 was always the temporary provision that we can understand. Third thing, whether president had the power that it can do that. Yes, president in exercise of power under Article 373 can unilaterally issue a notification that Article 370 ceases to exist. Now this is the important point that you have to understand. Supreme Court has said under special circumstances president had the power that they could decide whether they shall continue 370 or not. Third point. Then when the Constituent Assembly was dissolved, it did not affect president's power to declare it inoperative. So in nutshell, if I have to summarize the whole thing, that has happened in the case of Supreme Court responding to the repealing of J&K's special status. They have upheld it and they have said within the constitutional limits it has been valid what the president has done, and there was no requirement that president had to consult. Let's say अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं J&K की assembly after their constituent assembly was ineffective. I hope you are getting this point. Second thing you have to understand is, it also, Supreme Court has also said with the assurance of the center that they will try to restore the statehood to J and K at the earliest and elections by 30th September 2024. Now, one of the things you have to understand is, in the 2019 order that was passed by the president, the state of J and K was bifurcated into two union territories, one J and K and second one was the Ladakh. And J&K is the assembly that is having council of ministers, like in the case of Delhi, headed by a chief minister. Similarly, what we have in the case of Delhi, right? But what has been said by the Supreme Court, यार एक काम करते हैं कि हम restore करते हैं statehood को to J&K at the earliest. This has been taken care of. Third thing is, decision to carve out the union territory of Ladakh is valid. They are saying जो union territory Ladakh की बनाई गई है, it is valid. Despite being there are certain apprehensions in the minds of the people that in the upcoming future parliament can create any UT from any state, right? So these are the apprehensions and these are the worrisome points that the different stakeholders have. But what the Supreme Court has said, it was within the right that they could do that, that is to carve out the union territory of Ladakh. I hope this point is clear to everybody, and the important terminology that has come in this, अगर हम specific context की बात करें, there are two terminologies that are very important. One is internal sovereignty and second one is asymmetric federalism. You might get a question in UPSC next year, whether it is in prelims or whether it is in mains, you can get a direct question on this particular aspect. Now, internal sovereignty means, if I talk in macro perspective, I am the one that is free to choose what type of government shall I have, what type of election procedure shall I have, right? What type of economic system that I have. That is the part of internal sovereignty. When we talk about external sovereignty, it is related to declaring peace, treaties, wars with different countries, right? So this is the meaning of internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty, मेरी internal sovereignty है, मैं कोई मर्जी economic system रखूं, democracy रखूं, monarchy रखूं, republic रखूं, parliamentary रखूं, कुछ भी रखूं. That is a part of the internal sovereignty, and it is the power of a particular state if it has been vested with internal sovereignty. But that hasn't been said by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has clearly demarcated that you do not have any internal sovereignty. Second important thing that is there, that is related to asymmetric federalism. Asymmetric federalism is there is no similar power sharing between the center and the states. I think you must have seen that there are certain unitary features in our Indian constitution, and that is quite evident if you have read our Indian constitution. I hope this aspect is clear to everybody. I hope this article is clear to everybody. Now, there would be a lot of articles that would be trying to debate this whole issue, that it was not constitution valid, right? But one thing Supreme Court has said, the intention of the president has to be seen when they applied the present rule in J&K, whether it had any malified intention in order to abrogate the provisions of Article 370. That is the issue that has to be discussed and that will be debated upon, right? That has been clearly said by Supreme Court. Else apart, Supreme Court has upheld this whole repeal of J&K's special status, and our Prime Minister has said that it is a declaration of hope and it has fortified the very essence of unity that the Indians hold dear and cherish above all else, right? So this is a point that has been said by our Prime Minister. So it's a very important article, very important news article. Now there will be a lot of news articles that would be trying to counter this provisions के ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था, आपने प्रेसिडेंट को ज्यादा पावर दे दिया, पार्लियामेंट को ज्यादा पावर दे दिया, ऐसा तो आने वाले टाइम में प्रेसिडेंट रूल लगा के कोई भी कुछ भी कर सकता है, राइट? सो दीस टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स विल बी कमिंग एंड यू नो व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट वुड बी ट्राई टू हाईलाइट, राइट? सो ये आप लोगों को पता होना चाहिए. ओके, moving to the next part. Now I am going to directly go to the editorial page. There are three editorials. One is related to this Supreme Court upholding the J&K's abrogation of special status that we have already discussed. This is not something we will try to read, right? ये BJP political article है. Now this is very interesting. I can see, you would be able to see the headline, harvest the Odisha story to ensure food security. Now let me try to discuss this whole article so that you guys have a very clear picture, right? Now, one of the things I think everyone would be aware of, that is Odisha is a coastal state and it has been prone to disasters. It has been prone to disasters, right? Disasters of various kinds, like the most common being cyclones, right? And climate change has a very important role in state of Odisha, plays a very decisive role in the state of Odisha. First off, this is the aspect that we need to understand. Second thing we need to understand from the point of Odisha is, you can use this editorial, what I'm trying to explain, as a part of your case study as well. Whenever you're writing your answers, it will help you a lot, right? Now, Odisha was one of the state where there was a lot of problems of productivity. They had the problems of productivity was less, yield was less, right? So as a result, there was not enough fruit grains that were grown in the state of Odisha. And one of the district in the state of Odisha, Kalahandi, used to be called as the land of hunger. Now, I will tell you that how Odisha has overcome all these challenges, mainly the two challenges. One is related to food security. That is, just I have told you that it was called the land of hunger. And second thing is related to the impacts of climate change. They have been able to address both these issues in a very fantastic manner. Now, what used to be called as the land of hunger has now been called as the rice bowl of this state. Very important. And this has been highlighted in the World Food Program as well, that the success story of Odisha, that how they have overcome all the odds and become a rice bowl of the state or of the country as well. I think those who have been studying current affairs, you might be aware of this thing, that Odisha's PDS system is one of the best public distribution system, considering how much they have applied the use of technology so that there is not leakage that is being purportedly seen in different states. So if I talk about the case of Odisha, their PDS system is one of the best in the country by the use of technologies, or you can say by the use of biometrics. Now consider the situation, how they have been able to secure food security and fight against the climate change. One of the things that we need to understand is, their productivity now has increased. Without increasing the area under the crops, their rice yield has increased. And this has happened because of various schemes and programs that they have implemented at the ground level. Now, what are those schemes and programs? One of the programs you might have heard about is Kalia scheme, that is Krushak Assistance for Livelihood, Income and Augmentation, right? It's a kind of a direct support scheme, which you might have heard in the case like PM Kisan scheme, or in the case of Telangana Raitu Bandhu scheme, right? So in this context, Kalia scheme is something like where it is providing direct support to the farmers. Second important thing you need to understand is they have gone not only for the paddy cultivation, but they have gone for the non-paddy crops as well, right? So there has been a certain design program for the growth of millets as well, right? So their focus has been on millets as well. They have provided direct income to farmers as well. They have started certain programs where they are planning which crop needs to be grown, what type of technology has to be used, whether we have to go for organic farming, whether we have to go for zero natural farming, how we can save the water, how we can make sure that we are doing organic farming, how we can have an optimum utilization of fertilizer and pesticide. This all things are being done at the planning level and at the district level. So various districts are implementing the latest technologies in order to make sure that they are able to fight this climate change, as well as ensure that they have enough food security in the country. Plus, the most important thing I've already told you, that they have the best PDS system in India, and they have been ranked as well, and they have been awarded as well for being the best performing state in terms of PDS as well. If Odisha can do that, considering the impact of climate change, so why can't other states take an example and be like the state of Odisha, who has overcome the wrath of the disasters and still being able to show the light and make sure कि बाकी states भी इसी चीज को follow करे, right? So these are the points that you can make sure you can write in your answers, right? You can say organic farming, zero budget natural farming, use of latest technology, right? Optimum utilization of water, right? And optimum utilization of fertilizer and pesticide. These all the things have been done at the district level. Plus, there has been a watch program as well, where each week there are weekly surveillance as well, right? So that they are able to see that how crops have been performing, and if there is a risk of disaster, how that risk can be averted as well. I hope this point is clear to everybody. अगर clear है तो type कर दो yes. Okay. Now एक ये बड़ा interesting article है. I think everybody knows this article. Can Bihar increase its reservation pool? Now, I think everybody knows that Bihar had conducted its caste census, according to which they got representation of backward classes, extremely backward classes, SCs and STs and EWS around 84%. And accordingly, they said in November 17 that we're gonna increase the reservation in proportion to the population. So what they said was that the governor of Bihar approved two laws increasing the quantum of reservations in where? In jobs and education, and to 75%. इन्होंने क्या बोला कि हम रिजर्वेशन करके कितनी कर देंगे? 75% कर देंगे. Now, over the period of time, by the Supreme Court, it has been reiterated as well in the Mandal case as well, that the maximum reservation that could we have is not more than 50%. मैक्सिमम रिजर्वेशन कितनी हो सकती है? 50% तक हो सकती है. This has been stated in the Mandal case as well. But we have seen over the period that there have been different states who have kept increase the reservation and put it under 9th schedule, like the state of Tamil Nadu as well. So same thing is being done by governor or the state of Bihar, that they are increasing the reservation to 75%, saying this fact that they have majority of the population who is from the, let's say, reserved categories. But सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने और हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में एक चीज बार बार लिखी है कि जो हम ये रिजर्वेशन की बात करते हैं, दैट इज नॉट इन कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ प्रोपोर्शनेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. दिस इज इन कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ एडिक्वेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन. नाउ देयर इज अ डिफरेंस, आई कैन राइट इट ओवर हियर, बिटवीन एडिक्वेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन वर्सेस प्रोपोर्शनेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन. राइट? प्रोपोर्शनेट में जितनी पॉपुलेशन है उसके अकॉर्डिंगली सीट्स होनी चाहिए. बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एडिक्वेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन, इट हैज टू बी एडिक्वेट. दैट वाज द नंबर दैट वाज डिसाइडेड इन द मंडल केस, दैट हैज बीन 50%. राइट? So this is the debate that has been highlighted. So whether Bihar governor would be able to do that, whether it would be constitutionally valid or not, somehow certain states had done that before, और Supreme Court ने उसे invalid declare किया था, like in the case of Maharashtra. Right? So this is the point that we guys need to know. Pavan KR, I had already explained the case of Sudan yesterday as well. Non persona non grata, right? Don't worry, I will tell in the end as well, right? Okay. I hope this point is clear to everybody. Okay, moving to the next part. ठीक है, सो सारा आर्टिकल यहाँ पे उसी के ऊपर फोकस है. अगर आप ध्यान से देखो, सुप्रीम कोर्ट वर्डिक्ट हैज स्ट्रेंथन द स्पिरिट ऑफ एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत, राइट? प्रोग्रेस, यूनिटी ऑफ वन कंट्री. सो दैट आर द पॉइंट्स दैट यू कैन यूज इन योर आंसर्स एज वेल. इफ देयर इज एनी क्वेश्चन, यू कैन यूज दिस लाइन लाइक इन द केस ऑफ एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत, राइट? सो दीज आर द पॉइंट्स दैट यू कैन यूज इन योर आंसर्स, राइट? सेम सी चीज है, हमने पहले पढ़ रखा है. ओके, राइट? यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. नाउ वन ऑफ द थिंग दैट इज वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, आई थिंक वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड the cyclone Mishong that had come, that had created havoc in Chennai, right? A lot of people had tweeted it about as well, and we had seen the situation as well of the airports, of the railway station, of the streets. One of the major thing that was highlighted in the city of Chennai was that it is the major urban flooding that has happened, and one of the reason is not proper sewerage, and this has been said by High Court as well, that clogging of waterways is one of the reasons for the flooding in Chennai. And this is the thing that is getting repeated again and again and again, and the government is not doing enough in order to correct and remedy or rectify this situation. That is why we see these type of incidents quite happening a lot in the state of Tamil Nadu or in the city of Chennai. Now, वही issue तो चल ही रहा है. Draft climate deal fails to phase out fossil fuel. Now, this thing is very interesting. I think we have already discussed this. COP28, there has been a big discussion. There is one side that is saying phase out of fossil fuels. One is saying no, phase out nahi, phase down. At the end, this draft deal has failed, which talked about phase out of fossil fuels, because there was big problems that could have come from India and China, who are too much reliant on coal because it meets their 70% of the requirement. So they could not have allowed this draft to be passed. As a result, what could be the thing that could be passed is that phase down of fossil fuels, right? Phase down of fossil fuels, or you can say reduction and consumption of fossil fuels, not only to oil and natural gas but to coal as well, right? So it considers coal, oil, natural gas, all in these aspects, where they try to say कि हमें अब इनकी phase down करना है, और यही होगा जो final text बाहर निकल कर आएगा, not the phase out of fossil fuels. One of the things that you guys need to understand is, when India talks about phase down of fossil fuels, India is saying this so because India's energy requirement is coming from the coal. If India says phase out of fossil fuels, then India has to, over the period of time, in some years, would have to go towards renewable energy, and for that India would have to invest a lot. Considering the situation and developmental aspects of India, that India has to focus, India cannot be diverting a lot of its expenditure towards only renewable energy options. That is why India says, yes, we will phase down the coal, but it will come gradually over a period of time, not in some few years time. And along with that, there has to be a certain help that has to come from developed countries. If you guys are serious that we shall be doing something in relation to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, and that could only be done if we are getting the finance from the developed countries. And this is the thing that has been said by India, and it was given in our economic survey as well, as a part of long-term low emission development strategy. Very important. It was a part of long-term low emission development strategy. Right, guys? चलिए, this is it, guys. This is it from a newspaper, right? आज इतना ही था, और कुछ important नहीं है. साइंस के पेज में भी important नहीं है. Now there was a doubt from a student. Now see, Sudan had a major issue in April where their army and paramilitary was fighting. सपोज करो बीएसएफ और हमारी आर्मी के बीच में लड़ाई हो जाए, वैसी सिचुएशन चल रही थी. अब यहां पे बोला जा रहा है जो पैरामिलिट्री है दैट इज बीइंग सपोर्टेड बाय यूएई, राइट? और सुदान को रन कौन कर रही है? आर्मी रन कर रही है. सो देयर इज अ बिग फ्रिक्शन दैट हैज नाउ कम बिटवीन सुदान एंड यूएई. दैट इज व्हाई दे आर सेइंग, बिकॉज यू आर सपोर्टिंग द राइवल्स, so you are being declared persona non grata. When a person is declared or a diplomat, then it no longer enjoys the diplomatic immunity. If there is no longer diplomatic immunity and there are accusations that they are causing or supporting paramilitary, they could be charged under certain offenses as well, criminal offense. So as a result, they have been asked, please live within 48 hours, otherwise you would be liable for the offense. I hope this point is clear to everybody. किसी को doubt है तो पूछो. हाँ जी, if anyone has any doubt, you can ask me freely. Sir, just point out India's foreign policy. See, India's foreign policy is something like this. I will try to tell you. चलो, ये भी चीज डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. इंडिया इज फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट नेबरहुड, देन नेबरहुड फर्स्ट. ठीक है, हमारा नेबरहुड स्टेबल होना चाहिए. पहला फॉरेन पॉलिसी का पार्ट बन गया. दूसरा, सेल्फ रिलायंट बनना है, किसी के ऊपर ज्यादा डिपेंडेंसी नहीं करनी है. दैट इज व्हाई लॉट ऑफ मेक इन इंडिया इनिशिएटिव्स. थर्ड पार्ट ऑफ फॉरेन पॉलिसी, इफ आई कुड से कंट्री वाइज, that is become a part of global south, leader of global south, take active part in climate politics. क्लाइमेट की फील्ड में बताऊं, क्लाइमेट पॉलिटिक्स में एक्टिव पार्ट करना है ताकि डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज से फाइनेंस आ सके टुवर्ड्स डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज इन द फाइट अगेंस्ट क्लाइमेट चेंज. प्लस इंडिया ऑलवेज यूजेस पीपल टू पीपल कल्चरल एक्सचेंज एज अ सॉफ्ट पावर इन ऑर्डर टू यूज इट्स डिप्लोमेटिक जो भी प्रोवेस है, राइट. सो वो चीजें इंडिया करता है. और अगर हम उसके साथ साथ बात करें, इंडिया इज नाउ बीइंग ट्राइंग टू बी क्लोजर टू गल्फ कंट्रीज एज वेल, राइट. ये भी बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. प्लस इंडिया इज ट्राइंग एन इकोनॉमिक रिलेशन बाय साइनिंग फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट एज वेल. बट बिफोर दैट इंडिया कीप्स द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, दैट इज सॉवरेनिटी and principles of non-alignment. That is still true to the core of India's foreign policy. हाँ जी, is this point clear to everybody? चलिए guys, thank you so much. We will see each other tomorrow. Same time 9 a.m. Till then, take care. Bye bye.